Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the I Love Shreveport Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Williams, and we are excited that you are tuned in with us today. We got a great show for you today that's going to be very informative. And today we welcome Miss Tori Thomas from United Way with us. Miss Tori, how's your day going?
So it started off with a bang this morning, but it's going well now. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Listen, of course, before we get into some specifics, tell us who you are, what you do, and connection to United Way.
So I'm president and CEO of United Way of Northwest Louisiana. We
Okay.
always have to make sure we say that because we are a network of about 900 United Ways. Wow. We are 10 across the state of Louisiana. And so we cover, of course, the Northwest region. So from Caddo all the way over to Claiborne and down to Natchitoches and Sabine. So that's a pretty wide area.
Absolutely.
It's about 500,000 population. So it makes us have to really be thoughtful and considerate how we use our limited resources to help everyone.
Absolutely.
So our United Way, we focus on a group called ALICE, which is Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. It's just a great way to reference people in our community who are working every day, sometimes 2 and 3 jobs, but they don't make enough money to cover their ends meet. And in Louisiana, to cover your ends meet, if you're a family of 4, you may have 1 child in child care. You need about $80,000 to just cover your basics. But the 2 most popular, prominent positions and jobs in Louisiana only pay about $50,000 a year.
Absolutely.
If 2 people are living together working those most popular jobs. So that's a huge discrepancy in what is available to them and how they afford their necessities.
Absolutely.
And so if you think about it in terms of how social safety nets work, like SNAP, housing assistance, child care assistance, you have to be in poverty or really close to poverty to qualify for that. But if I make $2,000 outside of that threshold, am I much better off than the person in poverty? Sometimes, not always, but sometimes I'm actually worse because I don't have SNAP coming in to help me with food. I don't have child care assistance, so I have to get real creative. And so that is the group of people that our programs focus on.
Wow. So tell us, how does United Way translate the idea of mobilizing the caring power of communities into tangible, measurable outcomes?
So the way we do it is we think in terms of we bring our nonprofit partners together with our volunteers, our donors, our corporate partners to create opportunities to help the community at large. Just this morning, I was telling you the story before the podcast, was a homeless woman was dropped off at our office.
Wow.
She wasn't wearing appropriate clothes for the temperature that dropped today. And so what we did just really quickly, because we do this work every day, we had some disaster kits in our office left over from last year, and it comes with clothing. It had toiletry items in there. We even gave her a feminine hygiene kit just so that she could get cleaned up. Our case manager that's on staff actually made sure she was provided with a homeless shelter to go to for today until she can figure out what her next move is. And then our 211 director will be following up with her to make sure she gets the additional services that she may need. So we try our best to make sure our programs are relevant to that ALICE population. We have strong ALICE data that feeds what ALICE is struggling with the most, and our programs are designed to really help ALICE.
Wow. So an amazing community impact United Way has on our community. And so a strategic focus area, United Way focuses on health, right? Youth opportunities, financial security. How do these areas intersect to create a long-term change?
So let's think about it in this like 3-legged stool. This is how I've always thought about it. In order for a child to be successful at school, they have to have parents who are financially stable. Those financially stable parents have to be healthy to go to work and continue to make money. So they all play on each other. Youth or children who are literate and prepared and are educated become financially stable adults who also tend to be healthier adults. the more financially stable you are, the healthier you are. So it all goes together. And so we think of that three-legged base as the base to once we have all of these things really well done, our community will be resilient because of it. Because financially stable people give back to the community that they come from. Educated children become those financially stable adults, and healthy adults don't pull from social safety nets as much, so that when there are unhealthy people, we can then help them become healthier. We can help children who are falling behind catch up.
Absolutely. You're just a wealth of knowledge as relates to our community. Let's talk about local versus national efforts. How do local United Way chapters adapt national priorities to meet the specific needs of their communities?
So that's actually a good question. So our national office designed the areas that you named: the youth opportunity, financial security, community resilience, and healthy communities. However, they don't dictate how we do that work.
Okay.
So they give us areas that we should look at, and then what we do is we take our ALICE data. So how many people in our community is ALICE? And so right now in Shreveport, about 55% of the Shreveport population is considered ALICE or in poverty.
Okay.
So of that 55%, it's about 30% that's actually ALICE. So that's a huge portion of our population. Majority of our people are financially struggling. And then we also have 211 that we are the arbiters for. So we see the needs that come through in these data points. So we actually knew when utility services was going up, the bills were going up, because we started to see an increase in utility assistance.
Wow.
We also knew the moment that people started receiving information about their health insurance being cut back or SNAP benefits decreasing, because we saw an increase in food requests.
Wow.
And so we see these data points, and that tells us where we need to mobilize. It tells us what nonprofit partners we should be in contact with, so that they know, hey, there's going to be an influx of calls in this area. You might want to be prepared. If we have funds are really tight right now because donations are going down.
Absolutely.
And we lost 2 very prominent state contracts because, of course, the state has reorganized the way they're doing grants. And so we just have to be very thoughtful about how we can help. But that's how we know what to do in our local area versus what the national office is asking us to do.
Absolutely. And of course, if you're just joining us, the I Love Shreveport podcast, we're sitting with Ms. Tori from United Way. And you mentioned something, a name, ALICE. For those that are just joining us, maybe want to know, what exactly is ALICE?
Again, ALICE it's a cute acronym. I love it. It's not a person, but it's Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. And so asset limited means they may not own their home, and if they do own the home, there's not a lot of value in the home, or they're underwater in what its value is versus what they can sell it for. Income constrained meaning they don't have an emergency savings account. They are one crisis, one missed paycheck away from falling over the financial cliff. But they work. A lot of times people say, well, if they just worked, then they'll be okay. Well, actually, all of our ALICE population are workers. That's the great thing. But should your grandmother who retired 5 years ago be door dashing to make money to pay for her health insurance in this time? No, she shouldn't. But she is definitely ALICE, because I can guarantee you her retirement is not keeping up with inflation of today.
Wow. Great information. Let's talk about partnerships. All right. What role do partnerships with businesses and governments and nonprofits play in amplifying your impact?
So I'm going to use our upcoming event. So we have Day of Caring coming up on May 14th. And it's a day where we pull our nonprofit partners, our corporate partners as volunteers to mobilize to do projects across the city of Shreveport and Bossier. And the impact of that day is we have the nonprofits are receiving free labor for projects that they would not be able to afford to pay contractors for or complete without these volunteers. Our volunteers, our corporate partners, are fulfilling their corporate responsibility by
Sure.
providing these services. And then we use them to also do a state project that is very important for Louisiana. It's vital for part of our disaster preparedness. We pack 1,500 emergency kits every year in preparation for hurricane season.
Okay.
Now, the bags are not just used for hurricane seasons, but we want quite a few on standby because the last hurricane, and I believe it was Hurricane Ida, there were hundreds of seniors left in a warehouse down in Independence, Louisiana.
Wow.
When by the time they made it to Shreveport, most of them had on soiled clothes or just paper gowns.
Jeez.
And because it was so many of them, it took us days to find enough clothes for all of them. What we don't ever want that to happen again. So
Absolutely.
we pack these bags so that when we have something similar happen and that bus rolls up, the only thing that person needs to tell us is what size they wear.
Absolutely.
We give them that bag because oftentimes when you're in crisis, just a shower and clean clothes will open your mind.
That's right.
And so we want to make sure that we are prepared. So knock on wood, we have not had to use those bags for that recently. So what we do is we partner with the American Red Cross, and if someone is experiencing homelessness due to a fire, if there's a regional flood somewhere across the state, we can send those bags, we can deploy those bags.
Sure.
And all of those bags are packed by corporate partners, and our nonprofit partners help us decide who can get those bags. So that is how we come together to do disaster assistance.
Wow. Absolutely amazing. Let's jump into crisis response. How has United Way responded to recent crises or disasters? What lessons have been learned about building resilient communities?
Well, I talked about the Day of Caring and how that's part of disaster preparedness, but the most recent tragedy that Shreveport experienced was the loss of those 8 babies.
Absolutely.
And so what we heard from was there's a group called Project Celebration. Mitzi Harris contacted me through our connection through the Louisiana Association of United Ways. And what she conveyed to me was that there are domestic violence survivors in our community that were really triggered by that event. Their assailants or their exes kind of use this situation to say, see, look what could possibly happen to you.
Wow.
It is very disheartening. But our domestic violence survivors are now in fear. And so Mitzi has asked if we could help them fundraise for Ring cameras to help them put on their homes. So we have a fund. It's our United Way for NWLA fund. It's our disaster assistance fund. We received about $2,500 to date, but we want to purchase as many Ring cameras as we can for as many domestic violence survivors as possible. And so I'm a fundraiser first, so I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't look at this camera and say, if you want to help support this effort, please donate to that fund. You can find it on our website at unitedwaynwla.org, or you can even call my office. My direct number is 318-606-6589. I will be happy to help anyone who wants to donate, because what we don't want to happen is for our most vulnerable people in our community to feel unsafe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Very disheartening to hear that about what happened in our community, but we appreciate you all taking the lead and trying to help and get ahead of it. So let's talk about volunteer engagement. What are some of the most effective ways individuals can get involved beyond financial contributions?
Well, I'm sure you've heard this before. I'm sure you serve on boards. Nonprofits ask for time,
yes,
talent,
yes,
treasure.
Yes.
Beyond treasure, I always have a 4T, your testimony. If you can't give me the time, if you can't give me your talent, you don't have the time to serve on my board, you don't have time to give me that expertise, that talent, you don't have the money to give me your testimony.
Absolutely.
Just how you know that United Way can help someone else that you know. If 55% of the population in Shreveport is Alice or below, then that means every single one of us knows an Alice person. If that person comes to you and say, I'm struggling with my mental health, I don't know what to do, And we know most people, when they are struggling with their mental health, they're not going to convey
Of
it.
course.
But we can see it for ourselves
Mm-hmm.
as the person who loves them. Tell them to call 211. We will connect them to low cost or free, if they qualify, mental health services in our community.
Wow.
If they are struggling to pay their rent, call 211. We will get them to a rental assistance organization if they have money available. If there is no money available, call 211 so that we're not allowing you to spin your wheels looking for
Absolutely.
assistance.
Of course.
But if I don't convey anything else, I want people to know, call 211
Mm-hmm.
if you are experiencing some type of issue that 911, it's just not appropriate to call them.
Of course.
We will be able to connect you with resources and services in our community to help you through that crisis.
Absolutely. So let's measure success, right? How does United Way evaluate whether your programs are truly advancing the common good?
So we really look at data. I really like talking about our programs in ways that other people who do similar programs don't. So for our Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, we provide books every month to children under the age of 5.
Wow.
Every month.
Free.
Free.
Wow.
I want to stress that, free.
Wow.
But my goal is not to get more books in the hands of children. That's not my goal.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we send out about 6,000 to 7,000 books a month, and
Mm-hmm.
other than a school system, what nonprofit do you know is impacting 6,000 or 7,000 kids
Wow.
on a monthly basis?
Wow.
My goal is to improve our literacy scores
Mm-hmm.
for our children before they get to kindergarten. Louisiana has a terrible kindergarten readiness rate. It's
Wow.
over 60%, almost knocking at 65 or 70% of
Wow.
children show up to kindergarten not ready for kindergarten. And so we go to the schools that are performing the lowest
Mm-hmm.
with kindergarten readiness rates. We provide the books to those kids, but we go a step further. We do parent engagement with the schools if they allow us to.
Wow.
We bring educational documentation with
Mm-hmm.
us, like this is how you do phonics with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you just engage with the books.
Absolutely.
But again, we serve Alice. Alice works 2 or 3 jobs. We also record a volunteer reading that book for that month.
Wow.
And post it on our YouTube page so that if you cannot read to the child for any reason, that does not need to stop the child from engaging with the books in some way. Because we all have kids who have devices and they all have access to YouTube.
Of course.
With our financial security program, where we are doing one-on-one financial coaching and counseling, we're tracking and measuring how much assets are they building. Was there a home purchase? Was their business started? What was their credit score?
Sure.
How much debt was reduced? How much savings was increased? So we're looking at very measurable things to make sure that we're not just hosting these one-on-one counseling sessions, but that the individual is also getting something out of it. Because again, it goes back to that 3-legged stool. If that individual is financially stable, they'll have more time to invest in their families, their kids. They can get those books. If they find themselves in a financial situation, call 211. We look at the data of 211 as well. How many calls were made in a month or in a year? What were the top 3 requests? Maybe help nonprofits think about the gaps that we're seeing, because if we see a lot of calls come in for rental assistance and majority of the people who called said they didn't get rental assistance, then we know we have an issue.
Absolutely. I want to pause before we start wrapping this up, because you mentioned something that was very, very good and vital, right? All of our kids, most of them, should I say, have electronic devices. And for you to say that you've got somebody on your YouTube that are reading so that they can, if they're on these devices, they can listen to books being read to them. Take a moment, tell us what that YouTube page is, because there may be some parents out there that say, listen, I want to get my kids, they've got devices, make sure they can get there so they can listen through these stories also.
It's youtube.com, and I want to say it's /United Way, NWLA. But you may find 2. I do know there's an old United Way page on the YouTube, and no one has access to it to delete it. But you will see one hasn't been updated in years. But the one, it's United Way NWLA. We typically use that for almost all socials.
Sure.
That's how you'll find us on all socials.
Sure.
United Way NWLA.
Absolutely. So I want you to go there and allow your kids to listen to these books being read to them.
And that the YouTube program started actually as a result of COVID. We did not stop mailing out books during COVID.
Wow.
And so we had volunteers that read a lot of books just to be like, hey, if you are trying to figure out something to do with your child, I have an 8-year-old at the time of COVID. He was 3 and 4. Trust me, I needed things for him to do while I was working from home. And YouTube was one of those things I relied on. And I didn't just allow him to watch cartoons. I did actually require him to watch a couple of books being read as well.
So as we start to wrap this up, for the listeners who are inspired, right? What is the first step they can take today to support our partners with United Way?
So the first thing you do is go to our website, unitedwaynwla.org. Sign up to be a volunteer. We are still allowing people to purchase tickets to Day of Care. And just for the breakfast, we've already done the volunteer pairing piece. But if you want to come to the breakfast, help celebrate the volunteers that are going out that day. We're not charging very much. It's $10, and we're giving you a full breakfast.
Wow.
Come out, support United Way, show people that, community can come together. We have 500 volunteers.
Now, you said what type of breakfast? Free breakfast?
Not free.
Oh, okay. I thought you said free because,
it's a full breakfast.
Me and the team, we were on our way for sure because we love breakfast here. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I had to say that.
But I do invite you to come. We really want to have people in the room who can share what they experienced that day. And because next year we want this to be even bigger and better. Our largest Day of Caring, we had about 800 volunteers.
Wow.
And it was a massive day. We're trying to grow it back to that, but we want to make sure that we do it in a controlled way and make sure it's impactful. And we are trying to get out of Shreveport. We love Shreveport, but our nonprofit covers all of Northwest Louisiana, and every community will benefit from us hosting some type of Day of Caring in their area.
Absolutely. Well, Ms. Tori, thank you so much. This has been very, very informative. We appreciate you and your time. Any last minute things you'd like to share with our viewer and audience?
I'm looking at my boss over there. Make sure I covered everything. If you want to get engaged, again, our website is www.unitedwaynwla.org. That's how you'll find us on all socials as well. And we make sure that we update our social media on a daily basis. Our Financial Security Center is doing free one-on-one coaching and counseling. If you would like to set up an appointment with them, the first appointment is just to get to know you and what your financial goals are. You can go to our website or you can call our office, 318-677-2504. And I know I said that fast, so I'll slow down, 318-677-2504. And we can get you paired up with a financial counselor.
Absolutely. Listen, it's the I Love Shreveport podcast, and this is why we're doing this. We bring so much information through these podcasts that are helpful for our communities, and information you may not have known before watching the podcast. What does that mean? That simply means I need you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on our podcast, City of Shreveport, LA, and then, of course, you can follow us on all of our social media platforms. Again, thank you for tuning in to this edition of the I Love Shreveport podcast. Until the next time, have a great rest of your day.